Intellectual property is often the most valuable asset that a company has, but very few people really know about intellectual property valuations and how these are done. In this video, an expert goes through the key things you need to know.
In this short video, we will be looking at how intangible assets can be valued and how those valuations can be used by the company or individual who owns them. Unlike tangible assets, such as the like of cars, houses, and machinery, intangible assets are those which add value through contributions to creating revenue as intellectual assets, intellectual capital, and intellectual property. It's not only registered IP, such as patents, trademarks, and designs, but the people and contracts, databases and trade secrets, know-how and business efficiencies, which all come together to add value. All of these can be individually valued, or as a combination within a product or service. These are things which we create by virtue of our skills, experience, and innovative ability to solve problems, hence the intellectual and intangible labels. Businesses or organizations need to understand exactly what intangible assets they possess, then identify where these add value to the business or organization, and finally put a value on these assets in what we call IA or IP valuation. We all know that IP has a cost to register in the form of patents, trademarks, and designs. So a CEO or CFO will know the cost of generating and protecting the IP, but they should certainly know what value that IP has and contributes to the business. The valuation exercise will generally take place once there is a trigger event which necessitates it, such as a sale, license agreement, investment round, the calculation of loss of earnings for infringement of IP, or essentially copying, transfer pricing arrangements, or even insolvency. Our advice would be why wait? Get a valuation completed following an IP audit and update regularly as you generate new intangible assets and relinquish others. It's all about actively managing assets and knowing their value, opening up often unthought of avenues of commercial gain. Why should IP valuation be shrouded in secrecy? Surely it's like valuing tangible property, like cars and houses. Well, yes, to some extent, this is true. The methods which are commonly used break down into three main categories, with subsets depending on specific circumstances. These are the cost method, market method, and income method, all conceptually easy to understand and not just based upon accounting and financial considerations alone, but also taking a market look at the company, its position within the market, and opportunities for growth, including the analysis of risk, a consideration which in itself can greatly affect value. The cost method looks at the cost to reproduce either the exact same asset, a replication, or a similar asset with the same utility. The premise of value here is that no one would want to pay more for an asset which they could have generated internally from scratch. Other considerations are how the asset has aged or become obsolete, which reduces its value. A drawback is that this method doesn't actually give the company an indication of value, but rather the cost, and therefore ignores the value which owning the asset could make in terms of future income. The market method is the same as buying a car or a house. You investigate the market prices for the same house in the same street, for example. This method relies heavily on a liquid market with a lot of exact transactions, something which is hard to find in an intangible asset class, and again looks at the current market value without considering the future capability to generate income. Just like a house will be adjusted for having an extension, a larger garden, a patent value must be adjusted for countries where it is granted, the field of its use, or the claims it covers, amongst other factors. The most widely used measure of value for intangible assets and intellectual property is the income method. This looks at financial modeling and forecasts for the business using the IP assets in their products or services. The cash flows are calculated and then discounted back to today using discounted cash flow. This then gives a more realistic valuation in terms of the earning capacity and capabilities for the IP over time. As you can imagine then, the IP valuation is supported by a team of people with expertise in financial modeling, market analysis, risk analysis, sector-specific knowledge, and IP from a commercial and legal perspective. Obviously, this brief video is simplistic and detail has been omitted due to time, but many case studies of how IP valuation is used clarify why it should be a regular process.